Hey guys, Josh here from Sportitude Running, and it's shoe review time, and we're going to be talking all things On Running Cloud Stratus version 2. Now this shoe here has just landed mid-part of August 2021, and there is a lot to like about this shoe in comparison to where it was with its predecessor being version 1. Now today's review, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about this shoe in its full detail, outsole, midsole, the upper, talk about the changes from the previous version. I'm also going to give you some insight in regards to how I have experienced this shoe. I've had a pair for about 6 weeks now, and it's made its way into my rotation, and I've put in around 50 Ks, which I have been pleasantly surprised. But you have to watch this review right through to the end, because my journey with this shoe didn't start out that crash hot, but let me tell you, got better and better with every single kilometre. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay guys, before we start diving into the engineering components of this shoe, let's talk about the foot type that could be considering Cloud Stratus version 2. Now technically it is a neutral shoe, but there are some websites out there that are claiming this shoe to be max cushion and supportive. Now let's just break this down quite quickly for you. Now if you're a runner that happens to be a supinated foot type, now what we're talking about there is something that looks a little bit like this. So your foot in a static position, your arch sits up a bit higher, and when you go through your transition, the majority of the pressure is on the lateral part of your forefoot before you then engage your forefoot to then toe off. However, if you happen to be a neutral to mildly overpronated foot type, your foot will look something like this. Slightly flatter in the arch of that medial side. And again, when you transition through your gait cycle, you'll just ever so slightly favour that medial side and then get your foot ready, static, and toe off through your forefoot. Now, the reason there's a little bit of, I think, miscommunication with regards to where this shoe is placed is because technically years gone by, you're either neutral or you're supportive, and that area in between was relatively minimal. Now it's becoming rather wide and grey, so a lot of shoes fit into what we classify as stable neutral. So if you happen to be a mild overpronator, Cloud Stratus version 2 has worked quite well, and I can speak on personal experience. Now that same sort of shoes, we're talking about your Brooks Ghost, Brooks Glycerins as well. So covering off the foot type, let's get stuck into the engineering of this shoe. Okay guys, fun part of the review, let's talk about the engineering components of this shoe. Starting with the outsole. So looking at version 2 in my hand through here, you can see that On have used their harder wearing rubber, and they've strategically placed it on top of their CloudTech pods throughout the shoe itself. So you've got the back of the shoe through here being your heel strike zone for your heel striker. Coming through to the midfoot region, which is kind of where I land through here, you can see that one pod has been missed. Now, look, for me, I didn't find unusual wear. I've only done 50 Ks in mine, but that is holding up A-OK. And then as you come through to the forefoot, they have reduced the amount of rubber on offer in comparison to V1. Now that's done a couple of things. It has ever so slightly reduced the weight. However, through the forefoot, you can see it with the 2 vertical lines, and then there's the 3 horizontal lines. What that actually does is provides a slightly more compliant shoe through the forefoot. In comparison to last year, most of those pods was relatively filled out with the outsole, which was kind of a good thing, and it worked well with this shoe in regards to how the midsole performed. So it just offered a little bit more stability through the exit phase of your gait cycle. So it was a necessity to have more rubber through the forefoot for V1. However, V2, we've got a slightly reduced outsole on offer through the forefoot. Okay guys, let's talk all things midsole. First things first, let's talk about the stats. We have a 8mm drop in this shoe, heel to toe, and that is with a 36mm heel and a 28mm forefoot, and that is the same for both men's and women's. And as you can see, On Running, very loud, called out cloud technology. So the cloud pods strategically placed through the midsole, both on the lateral and the medial side. It provides a nice soft dampening underneath the body, but also aids in that responsive feel as well as you transition through your whole gait cycle. The other thing to call out as well is the Helion foam. So I do believe that On Running have ever so slightly changed the density of Helion. Now, it's a tricky thing to do. They don't release that, that information to the public, but from my own personal experience, how this shoe felt underneath the body was considerably different than V1. Now, a couple of things to call out through here. The dual layered cloud technology runs right from the heel of the shoe through to the forefoot. So you've got the double layer of CloudTech pods. Now that helps the shoe feel more consistent throughout the whole phase of your gait transition. However, in V1, dual layering at the rear of the shoe, but as you transition through to that forefoot, it became a single CloudTec layering through the forefoot. Now, to politely put it, it just felt a little bit dense, where you've got a little bit of pop and a bit of juice through the forefoot in this little shoe here, which is a nice transition and a really nice feeling. I liked what it was doing. Now, to call out the fact, as we did in the intro of this review, the shoe itself is neutral. There's no overly complicated system on the medial side that's going to push your arches up. With running shoes gone by, and we talk about dynamic support systems and fixed arch supports with dual density foam, obviously brands do try to control that overpronation with regards to how much support they have on offer on the medial side. On running, with this CloudTec and also the Speedboard, which sits underneath the Strobel board of this shoe and between the midsole, the Speedboard does help the shoe itself transition through that gait cycle a little bit quicker and a little bit smoother as well. So there's a couple of little bells and whistles in this shoe that just aid in that feeling through entry right through to your release, which is great. Okay guys, dialing into the upper of this shoe. Now, with a mileage shoe, obviously it's a shoe that's going to be spending plenty of time out on the road. So what we want to see with a good shoe like that is plenty of cushioning, plenty of protection underneath the body, but you also want to make sure that you're going to get the breathability that you require when you are out pounding the pavement. So up top through here, you can see we have some nice engineered open mesh through the forefoot, which is going to provide plenty of ventilation, and it did that for me as well. So I didn't have any qualms, queries, or theories with regards to the upper. It felt beautiful on the foot. If anything from last season, it is marginally deeper through the front half, which personally I like. So a little bit more depth, a little bit more wriggle room through the front, which is fantastic. And like last year, they have the anatomical laces. So you can kind of see down the front where the laces begin. Having that on offer, when you do really slow down and take that extra 3 to 4 seconds doing your shoelaces up, you do get a nice customized fit through the front half as well. And as you come through to the arch, you can kind of see through here around the top of the navicular, there's this little cradle, green, sort of called out with the green coloring up top, both lateral and the medial side. Last year they didn't have it, but you can see that On have always sort of focused on that detailed fit across the top of the arch. So they did have more eyelets on offer, which essentially allowed the user in V1 just to change the fit and feel, get a bit more depth, or really dial in a little bit more of a lockdown on top of your arch with V1. Now, they haven't done it with V2. However, this little arch cage, for want of a better term, does have a connection like a gusseted tongue. So it does attach to the midsole on the lateral side and also the medial side. So while you can ever so slightly change the depth and fit and feel around your arch, you're going to get plenty of support essentially where you want it, where your foot is going to sit on top of that platform. You don't want to be moving around too much. So again, a really nice little feature. It does help the foot sit on top of the shoe and basically dial into where it needs to be throughout the whole gait cycle. Coming back to the back of the shoe through here, a bit like last year, we had the external heel counter on offer. So it was, again, a little bit more anatomical with regards to the shape and construction. However, this season, it's certainly more asymmetrical with regards to how much support on the lateral to the medial side. So again, that black plastic section through here, it just provides a little bit more of support for that foot when it comes down. Again, when we hit the ground for a heel striker, we tend to find that, well, we know that the shock that goes through the body is really important to get the cushioning, but make sure that your calcaneus, your heel, sits on top of that midsole. So it's vitally important you get a really good support system at the back through here. And obviously there is that last little eyelet as well on offer, so you can utilize that heel lock lacing system as well. Okay guys, now while we just touched on the upper, it's really important we talk about the widths of this shoe. Now, currently it is only available in standard width, so that's a D in the men's and a B in the ladies. I hold the B here in my, the ladies part of me in my right hand through here. However, the shoe itself does fit a little bit wider through the forefoot. Now, I touched on a minute ago having a little bit more depth through the front in that toe box than last year. So yes, it's slightly deeper. However, feedback early days and also from straight from On's head office is they have actually engineered this shoe to be marginally wider through the forefoot. For some runners out there, they probably won't like that. Now, if you are narrow in regards to your foot structure and foot shape, pardon me, I'd probably put a question mark on this shoe. But if you happen to be a D width previously with your Brooks, Asics, New Balance, for example, you are going to comfortably transition over to this shoe. Had a couple of people who were 2E with, or sort of 2E Brooks Ghost wearers previously, and did some wear testing in the Stratus as well, and had no issues with regards to the forefoot fit and feel as well. So important to note. Okay, guys, I want to give you my subjective opinion on the Stratus version 2. Now, when you look at the catalogue and you're looking at the On Running family, this is their max cushion shoe. It sits at the top of the tree, and it reads fairly so too, because it's got plenty of cushioning underneath the body. It's a 36mm stack. When you start talking about stack carts like that, we start entertaining your Bondis, your Moores, and also your Zoom Invincibles from Nike. So there's a few shoes that come into that category in and around max cushion high stack. However, when you put this shoe on your foot first run out of the box, you don't get that super squishy feel that you do get from your Bondis, your Zoom X's, and your Moores. However, I will touch on one thing. This shoe has gotten softer the more I have used it. Now, there's got to be a point where that's got to stop, of course. Now, I'm only 50 Ks in, but I really like what this shoe is doing underneath my body. I mean, for around 308 grams for a men's size 9, it's by no means the lightest shoe on the market, and there are certainly lighter max cushion shoes on offer, and it's around, again, just touching on weight, it's around 250 for the ladies size 7. However, the shoe itself is nice and snappy through the forefoot. So when you're looking at the other 3 max cushion shoes I just touched on, try to do a tempo run in a Bondi. Try to do a tempo run in a Moore. I mean, you can, but it's not overly enjoyable. I think this shoe here is a slightly more versatile mileage shoe when it's fitted correctly and dialed in for the right runner. So you can use it for your longer days out on the road, your easy runs. You're going to get the cushioning you require. But if you want to mix it up a little bit and you want to run a little bit quicker, but get a little bit more structure and support, Stratus version 2 is certainly a shoe that I will have no qualms at all throwing into a conversation for a customer downstairs. So there you have it, guys. That is my take on the Stratus version 2. It is in my shoe rotation now. I'm really enjoying what this shoe is doing for me, and I hope to hear from you guys out there as well. So if you've happened to be an On runner before, you've used Stratus version 1, or you've been lucky enough to try or buy Stratus version 2, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do hit the red button, stay notified, and we'll keep pumping out these shoe reviews for you, the running community out there. And until next time, guys, stay safe, be kind to one another, happy running, and we shall see you next time. Take care.